Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, we are going to be coming at you with an Xyz deck, but not an Xyz Cup video. I did actually play this deck a little bit in the Xyz Cup, but after playing it there, I decided I wanted to play it on ladder as well. That's going to be Adventure Zodiac. So, this is, of course, excuse me, going to be much like Vanquish Soul, which we covered the other day, another control deck that is not actually really utilizing like a ton of back row. We only have 3 trap cards total in this deck, so again, we're not really counting on setting for and then passing to win our games. But we are still going to play a similar kind of control game where typically the duel is going to go out longer. This deck actually can't really OTK, which is not usual for a lot of decks. Not only I was going to say that I play, but really in Yu-Gi-Oh in general, right? A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh decks have some OTK line or another. Zodiac kind of doesn't, but it also doesn't super need it either. So for our Zodiacs, we are on a total of, I believe, 8 of them. Yes, that's going to be 3 of the Thoroughblade, 2 of each Whiptail and Ram, and then the 1 Rapier. A new addition to the deck, actually, before we get into the figures there, is MX Saber Invoker. So I crafted this card recently. I got some extra UR points by going through all of this. Like, I pulled up a list of the secret packs online, like every single one of them, and I crafted a super rare from every one I didn't already. So by doing that, I got a few free URs, enough to dismantle for some extra UR craft points. So I used some of those for Invoker, which I've been wanting to play in Zodiac for quite some time. MX Saber Invoker has been legal for quite some time, alongside 3 Terratop. And it's funny because a lot of people were very sure that the 3 Terratop, the Invoker, and Barrage being at 3 was going to make Zodiac absolutely broken, 100% a tier 1 deck. But in my opinion, Zodiac has never really breached, I'll say tier 3. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's been a rogue deck pretty much the entire time, even with Barrage at 3 and Terratop at 3, and the Invoker legal as well. But it's one of those decks that's like, it's upper rogue and very much on the cusp of being tier 3 in terms of like power level, but just quite isn't there. So but yeah, the other kind of unlimits that have helped this deck has been Rite of Armistier to 3. I guess particularly this iteration of Zodiac with the Adventure Package is Rite to 3 and Water Enchantress to 2. A lot of the time, when I wasn't playing Adventure in decks like Zodiac, where it could in theory be good, is that the deck itself didn't really have a way to like work the Adventure line into the combo, right? So when both like Rite of Armistier, I guess Rite of Armistier is at 2, right? When Rite of Armistier is at 2 and Water Enchantress is at 1, like, yeah, you could do Adventure Zodiac, but you would see the Adventure line, not nearly as often. But the nice consistency boost has made the Omni Negate, much more consistent, of course, on the end board there. Which the Omni Negate, in addition to Dryden, is like so helpful on turn 1. The pop is nice, but often is not enough by itself to do the trick. Now, because we are on the Adventure Package, I'm not on Dimension Shifter, which is a card I've played in particularly Kashira Zodiac in the past. So, as far as which do I think is better, Adventure Zodiac or Kashira Zodiac, I think they're probably about equal. They're just kind of pros and cons to each respective package, right? I think the pro of the Adventure Package is, again, the Omni Negate, also the utility of the bounce off the Drink It Back, and, having the Adventure Token and potentially, Water Enchantress. While I did say before this version of this deck doesn't really ever OTK, it's a lot more possible to do with the Adventure Package. To be fair, Zodiac can add, Kashira rather, can add some of that potential to Zodiac as well. If you go like Unicorn for Birth, and then Birth for Fenrir, and then Special Rise Heart, that's what, like 6,400 damage right there. So yeah, there's definitely both pros and cons. I think one of the bigger pros to the Kashira package is that you of course get to play the D-Shifter, which is pretty good in this meta, but on top of that, we are playing Xyz Armor Fortress, the full armor Xyz, and the full armored Dark Knight Lancer. We're not playing all of the package here, although I think I should be on the spell card, because there have been a couple of times where, I should actually definitely be on the spell card as well, now that I think about it. because it's actually kind of hard if you're stacking this on a Zodiac to get this down to 0 materials by the time you detach and search only the trap. The reason to play the spell is so that you can detach 2 materials, because this has to have 0 materials, yeah, to be used for an Xyz summon, right, per its own restriction, which I always forget with Xyz Armor Fortress. So realistically, I do think that the spell card Armored Xyz should be in the main deck, again, if only to make the Xyz Armor Fortress more consistently get down to 0 materials. But this little bridge here, I mean, is another way that you can add some damage to your board, and we don't have to play the Xyz Armor Torpedo, because we're already playing MX Saber Invoker and all the Zodiac cards, and you can just throw the Xyz Armor Fortress on top of any one of those, but especially the Invoker. And you know what? Yeah, if you're throwing it on Invoker, you definitely need to have the Armored Xyz. So that was a deck building misplay that I made here. Again, I always forget when I play this package that this restriction right here, that Xyz Armor Fortress, again, cannot be used as an Xyz, as material for an Xyz summon while it has a material. So definitely worth keeping in mind if you're on this package. And again, definitely recommend playing the Armored Xyz spell as well. Let's see, what else is there? Not really too much else to say about this deck. This is another double Zeus deck. I think Zodiac is probably the deck in the meta that most benefits from the double Zeus, because of how reliant you are on Zeus, especially going second. You'll often, like, on your first turn, use a Zeus to board wipe, and then your opponent will have some follow-up, and then on your follow-up turn, which would be turn 4, it's not uncommon to need another Zeus to wipe your opponent's, like, follow-up. So definitely good to have that, as well as the Typhon, you know, another pretty good addition. And then, of course, we're on Little Knight, because this is not the Xyz Cup, but this deck is very easy to build in the Xyz Cup. You could simply just drop Little Knight and then play, like, I don't know, probably the second Borbo or something. So, okay, that is going to do it for everything I have to say about the list. Let's break it down card by card, and then we'll watch some replays. So we're on 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Maxi, 3 Speedroid Terratop, 1 Speedroid Takaton Borg, 3 Ash Blossom and a Joyous Spring, 2 Water Enchantress of the Temple, 1 Zodiac Ratpierre, 2 Zodiac Whiptail, 3 Zodiac Thoroughblade, 2 Zodiac Ramram, 1 Wandering Griffin Rider, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 3 Rite of Armistier, 1 Dracoback the Rideable Dragon, 3 Zodiac Barrage, 1 Fateful Adventure, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crosshead Designator, 2 Infinite Permanence, and then 1 Full Armored Xyz. For the extra deck, we're on 1 MX Saber Invoker, 2 Zodiac Tiger Mortar, 2 Zodiac Trident, 1 Zodiac Borbo, 1 Zodiac Hammer Kong, 2 Zodiac Chakanine, 1 Xyz Armor Fortress, 1 Full Armored Dark Knight Lancer. We got 2 Divine Arsenal Awe, Zeus, Sky Thunder, 1 Superstar Slayer Typhon, Sky Crisis, and then finally 1 SP Little Knight. That'll do it for the list. Let's see some duels. Okay, so our first opponent will be playing Yubel. We're actually going to be playing against Yubel and Fire King Snake Eye exclusively in these games. So, lots of rogue versus meta action happening here. Phenomenal turn 1 hand. Second talent isn't like the best, but definitely love to see Speedroid Terratop plus a Zodiac. So, Terratop for the Toxon Borg, and here the opponent is going to Max C. So, I'm really glad they didn't do it. Although, to be fair, if they'd done it after I added the Toxon Borg, I would have just not summoned it. So, here I'm going to normal Ram, still go for the Dryden, and then after I summon that triple tack, that way I can view all 5, right? Oh yeah, this game. Oh, perfect. So, this is a game where triple tack and deck knowledge of what the opponent's playing is super important. I've often said while playing control decks and using disruption cards in general, that knowledge of what your opponent's playing is going to be the best thing that helps you make decisions. So, looking at my opponent's hand here, it's pretty obvious they're on Yubel, thanks to them having both Nightmare Pain and Opening, as well as Sharvara. It's pretty easy to piece together. So, one thing I noticed about this hand is that they don't have any Dark Monsters in it right now, and Nightmare Pain has to pop a Dark Monster to go into Yubel cards. Since Opening of the Spirit Gate is what will get them into a Dark Monster, I'm going to go ahead and pop that. Now, unless my opponent top decks something here, they don't really have plays pretty much at all next turn. Like, even if they were to set Call By or Nightmare Pain and pop it and summon Sharvara, they can't really normal Ash Blossom and go into any meaningful Link plays, because Yama takes 2 Fiend Monsters, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, I think that the Opening of the Spirit Gates, taking that with triple tax, is definitely the best call here. And even if they do top deck a Dark Monster for Nightmare Pain, I can still destroy the Nightmare Pain with Trident. And then, of course, we also still have the Imperm. So, I felt pretty good about this. Opponent's going to top deck a Dark Beckoning Beast. I not only want to Imperm that, but I also am looking to pop it, but they're actually going to pop it first with Sharvara, so this means that the Dark Beckoning Beast will end up resolving. However, it's not the end of the world, because I can still use the Trident to pop the opening of the Spirit Gates, which I'm definitely going to want to do, since this will not only search a Dark Beckoning Beast, but could also discard to summon one back. I don't want either of those things to happen. So now we have total knowledge of what the opponent's on, right? We know the other 3 cards in their hand. It's Ash Blossom, Called by, and Nightmare Pain. They no longer have access to a Dark Monster on hand or field for Nightmare Pain, so that's dead. So really, they're just on Sharvara battling, and then probably set Call by, and then just pass here, which is exactly what happens. They end up battling over a Trident. That's perfectly fine with me. It actually doesn't really matter what they battle over here, because since they left Terratop and Toxonborg, I can just go for Invoker. Especially now that I have top deck Whiptail, it especially doesn't matter. This game is in fact just over. I'm going to Invoker knowing full well that it's going to catch this Ash Blossom, but that Ash Blossom will make my triple attack live. However, I don't need to even look at my opponent's hand and put one back or take control. I can actually just draw 2 cards here, because again, I have complete knowledge, and 2 very good cards to have drawn here, by the way, because again, I have complete knowledge of my opponent's board state, right? I know the last card in hand is Nightmare Pain. I know this is Called by, so even with just Invoker, I could overlay Xyz Armor Fortress on top of it, battle over, and then go into Zeus, board wipe, and then pass, right? But I'm actually going to go for the Zodiac line to make a Zeus with more materials, so that way, after I board wipe here, I'll be on a 4-mat Zeus going into their turn instead of a 2-mat Zeus, but we'll still go into the Xyz Armor Fortress to get in a little more damage here. Opponent's going to concede now, but I mean, again, it's pretty easy to see how we... Oh, that was a little bit of a lag there. It's pretty easy to see how we just win out from here, right? By keeping control of the game with Zeus. So even though we didn't actually OTK, we still get the opponent in a position where they have no real way of coming back anymore. And that's really what playing control is all about. Alright, so there is that one. I think that was also pretty good showcasing of why I like Triple Tactics Talent so much. Its flexibility, and, you know, it's really weird to think of Triple Tack as a board breaker card. It is with the tech control effect, but I like the quote-unquote hand breaker effect as well, because not only do you get to put a card back, but you also, again, just have knowledge of what your opponent has, which, if you know what your opponent's, you know, playing and how to play the deck effectively, is incredibly valuable, and can single-handedly, like it did here, end up winning you the game. So let's check out this next replay here. Okay, so this is going to be the game against Fire King Snake Eye that we're going to watch here. That was kind of weird. I had to reload Master Duel because the replay wouldn't start, but hopefully we don't have any more issues like that. We're going second here. Another honestly great hand. Terratop Zodiac, 2 points of interaction in the form of hand traps, so definitely liking this hand. I'm not going to negate the Diabel. It was a little surprising they set Subversion, but of course that just means they have OSS in hand. But I will Ash Blossom the OSS. So in the past, I have not... So like, words. When Snake Eye Ash was at more than 1 copy, I was not really a fan of ashing the original Sin on turn 1, if it's got enough Diabel, even if I already had Imperm in hand, because it's not uncommon for them to just normal summon Snake Eye Ash. Here though, in this meta, with Snake Eye Ash at 1, you know, it's a lot harder for them to just have it in their hand, right? So I am much more of a fan of using the Ash Blossom against OSS nowadays, and of course, in this situation, even if they do have it, we have Imperm here as well. But I think they don't have any follow-up. If I recall correctly, they're just going to end up setting a card, yep, and then passing back over to me. So we know the one face down is Subversion, meaning that I'm not really too scared of the opponent's game state here. I'm going to go for a Terratop and then grab Toxonborg, overlay the 2 of these for the MX Saber Invoker. And again, I already have a Zodiac monster in hand, so I'm just kind of using the Invoker as interaction bait right now. Sure enough, it's going to eat the Ash Blossom, which is fine, but I'm still thinking this other face down card is probably an Imperm. Not that it'd be that big of a deal if it was. We could still just, like, Zeus the Imperm, oh well. But I'm going to see if I can't bait it out. So I'm going to go for Xyz Armor Fortress and activate, and sure enough, it is Imperm. Even though, you know, I would still have an extra material here, and this is, by the way, why you need the Armored Xyz spell card in the deck, and why that is a deck-building misplay on my part, to not be playing it. Because let's say they didn't have Imperm, right? I could potentially be detaching both, adding 2 cards, and more importantly, as I mentioned in the deck profile, getting this down to 0 material so that I can actually be used for an Xyz summon. But here, it did a perfectly good job of baiting out the opponent's back row, which, as I suspected, was an Imperm. So now we can just normal summon Thoroughblade, and we are good to go. I know the last face down card is Subversion, so I'm going to go for Tiger Mortar. And the opponent concedes here, again, just knowing the inevitable. And once again, that is what control games... I feel like I'm saying this at the end of every one of these games, but, I mean, each game is showing how the control kind of play style works, right? We don't actually OTK them, we don't actually like deck them out or burn them out or even necessarily reduce their life points all to 0 all at once. It's more about just like leaving them with most of the time it's going to end up being like almost no cards in hand or field, or the few cards they do have are just not very useful to them. Also here, obviously we do definitely Zeus during my turn, or just before, you know, it goes to their main phase, because otherwise that face down Subversion pushes the Zeus into the spell trap zone. So we got one more duel to watch. Let's finish off with that one. And this is going to be another game against Yubel here. So Yubel, Fire King, Snake Eye, Yubel. These are all rating duels, by the way. I've kind of been like going back and forth between rating duels and M1, depending on the power level of the deck. But I played enough Zodiac that I felt confident bringing it to rating duels. So, all right, going second again. Opponent's going to Piri Ree's map. I'm going to Ash Blossom here. Piri Ree's map tells me it's probably Yubel. And I'm just going to kind of gamble a little bit and see if they have any amount of extenders or like follow-up here. They do have a triple attack. They're going to use the hand rip effect here. And although, of course, you know, in the replay they pick right away, it's worth noting that my opponent actually took probably like somewhere like 20 to 30 seconds, a notable amount of time trying to figure out what they wanted to put back here, which is pretty telling. If they had had more follow-up plays, they definitely would just put back Imperm right away, right? So the fact that they thought about it for a while and then picked Barrage tells me that the remaining 3 cards in their hand are not follow-up plays, which is definitely worth noting. It tells me that it's probably going to be hand traps, or maybe a call by Imperm or disruption like that. Could be extenders like maybe Gruesome Gravescormer and like, you know, another triple attack or an Imperm or something like, you know, some weird combination of cards like that. Also, them putting back Barrage is 100% fine. That does not matter to me. Top deck Draco back, which doesn't really do anything. I'm just going to go Ram into... I should have gone into Borbo here, but I went to Tiger Mortar. I was like, worst case scenario, they might, you know, summon Spirit of Yubel, which they actually do, but it's just overall safer to go into Borbo. I think it's more like there's no reason to not do it, right? So... we'll still, of course, battle into Spirit of Yubel. There's no Nightmare Pain. Even if there was, it would only reflect 400 damage anyway. So even if Nightmare Pain had been up here, it's obviously 100% worth it to battle into the Spirit of Yubel, because then we can go for our Zodiac line. Not just our Zodiac line, of course, but our Zodiac line into the Zeus. Because, like, yeah, you're going to make Borbo anyway, you know, to give your Zeus, you know, full material. So... I don't really know what they could have, like, what realistically somebody could punish you with, but there's always the random card effect out there. So here, this was kind of interesting. So my opponent was getting past priority as I was, you know, summoning my Zodiac monsters. So I kind of thought they might have had a Nibiru. And my thought process was, and this is me addressing why I didn't set Imperm or Call By, right? Now you might be thinking, well, of course you didn't set Imperm or Call By, because the Zeus Ward Wipe would eat them. But it's actually kind of worth it to set Imperm in addition to Zeus, in case your opponent, like, has a monster effect that, like, on summon might, like, negate or bounce or destroy the Zeus, right? Because then, instead of just, well, alright, I'll just, you know, wipe the monster and then have to, you know, not have anything with the Zeus, you could set the Imperm and negate effect like that and then still have your board wipe. So normally I would have set Imperm and possibly also Call By here, but because my opponent was getting past priority, I thought they had a Nibiru. So my thought process was, alright, I'm gonna wait for them to activate Nib, then I'll board wipe with Zeus, then they'll summon, you know, whatever, and then I can set Imperm and Call By, but they didn't actually have the Nib, so... And they just end up conceding. Oh yeah, they declared an attack with Spirit of Yubel first, which I thought was kind of funny, because they didn't even activate the Nightmare Pain. if they'd activated Nightmare Pain, I probably wouldn't have... Like, when I say activate, I mean, like, if they had activated, like, placed the card from their hand onto the field, but not used the effect, I don't think I would have Zeused. I think I would have waited for them to activate Nightmare Pain, and then, you know, then do the board wipe. That way, they've already used the once per turn effect of Nightmare Pain. If they'd activated it and then battled Spirit of Yubel to deal 3k to me, that's fine. I don't really care. It's not lethal, so it's whatever. And I think that maximizes, you know, the efficiency of the board wipes with Zeus. That is something to consider. Another thing when playing control decks is that you can't just use your disruption willy-nilly, you got to use it at the correct timing. But I guess opponent here kind of figured they could play through Zeus no matter what. So, okay, that is going to do it for these duels. Thank you so very much for checking these out. And yeah, that's all I got for you for now. Let's just move on to the outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.